Hello everyone, I am Ithisri and you are watching Ithisri's tutorial. Guys, in our previous class we have learnt about tenses and their structure. Today in this class we are going to learn about the uses of all the 12 tenses one by one. Guys, if you haven't seen my last video about tenses, please see the video. I have given the link in the description box. Please do subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet to get notification of my upcoming video. So guys, in our previous class we have learned that there are 12 tenses. Now let's learn the uses of all the 12 tenses one by one. Here is the first tense, present simple. Present simple tense. And its structure is subject plus verb, present form plus object. Let's see where we can use present simple tense. First rule is we can use present simple tense with the habitual actions. Habitual actions means something that you do every day. So to express habitual action we use present simple tense. Let's take an example. I eat 4 times every day. 4 times every day. That is a habit. Every day we take 4 meals. Then I go to school at 9 o'clock every day. This is also a habitual work. Then they visit zoo every week. Cows live on grass. These are all habitual actions and we use simple present tense here. Next rule for simple present tense is general truth, universal truth or scientific truth. To express universal truth and scientific truth, we use simple present tense. Let's take an example. The earth revolves around sun. This is a universal truth and we can't say that the earth was or will revolve around the sun. It's wrong because according to the rule, universal truth should be in simple present tense. The earth revolves around sun. Then next example, time and tide wait for none. Next is truth reveals at any moment. It is also universal truth. Then water boils at 100 degrees Celsius. It is a scientific truth. Oxygen helps in burning. That is also a scientific truth. So these are general and scientific truth where we can use simple present tense. Rule number 3. Headlines in the newspaper. We use simple present tense. Headlines in the newspaper is always in simple present tense. Let's take an example for your better understanding. That is the Prime Minister visits Ukraine. The Prime Minister visits Ukraine. This is the headline of the newspaper. The accident death toll reaches at 500. This is also the headline of today's newspaper, and these two sentences are in simple present tense. Next rule is for extraction we use simple present tense. Extractions. In extractions the same verb is always in simple present tense. Let's take an example. Gita says, the Gita means Gita book. The Gita says killing is the greatest crime. Killing is the greatest crime. Here say verb is the Gita says. It's in simple present tense. Next rule is in commentaries we use simple present tense. So in commentaries simple present tense is used. If we'll take an example here, like Sachin passes the ball to Dhoni and Dhoni scores 4 runs. This sentence is in simple present tense. Next, there are some words like some verbs like likes, dislikes, order, request, promise. predict, declaration. We use simple present tense to express someone's likes, dislikes, desire, and we use simple present tense with these following verbs like order, request, promise, predict, and declarations. Let's take one example from each verb. I am fond of sweets. I am fond of sweets. She likes movies very much. Rita hates falsehood. Dislike. It's a dislike. Do not go there. Don't go there. It's an order. I think she is a teacher. It's my prediction. The government declares the one-day cricket tournament. This is declaration. My friend requests police to catch the thief quickly. These are the examples of each verb. Next rule is to express the present state. What is the present state here? Let's take an example, you will get it clear. I am tired now. I am tired now. Tired is my present state, present condition, current condition. Then I understand what you say. The door is open. These are the present state and we use simple present tense. Next rule is we use the present simple tense in the first and zero conditions. Let's take an example. If it rains, we won't come. Another example, if you heat water at 200 degrees Celsius, it boils. This is for conditional sentences. Next rule is for quotations. To introduce quotations, we use simple present tense like kids says. Kids says, it's in present, simple present tense. A thing of beauty is joy forever. Then for fixed events in near future. Next rule is for fixed events in near future, we use simple present tense. That is, let's take an example. Ganesh puja falls on the 9th September. Ganesh puja falls on the 9th September. It is fixed. Ganesh puja will fall on 9th September. It's a fixed event. So we use simple present tense. Then static verbs are used in simple present tense. And instead of present continuous, we use simple present tense because there is no present progressive form or present continuous form or ing form of these static verbs. For example, love, see, smell, hope, believe, think, hear, etc. These are static verbs and there is no present form of these verbs. Let's take an example. I love my mother. We can't write that I am loving my mother. It's wrong. I love my mother. Then I believe in God. Guys, there are some key words that represent simple present tense. Let's know what are they. Always, every day, never, normally, often, seldom, sometimes, usually. These are the key words there that represents simple present tense. Next is present continuous tense or present progressive tense. We know that it is used to express an action taking place in the moment of speaking. When we are speaking at the time, if an action is taking place, then we use present continuous tense. We know the structure is subject plus is, are plus verb ing form plus object. Let's take an example. It is raining. I am writing a letter. Sita is sleeping. Above these examples, the action is taking place in the moment of speaking. While I am speaking, the action is taking place. So it's in present continuous tense. Next rule is for planned action of near future. For planned action in near future. So present progressive tense is used to express an action that is arranged for the future. That is arranged for the future. Let's take an example for your better understanding. She is going to Norway in coming week. Or we can say my sister is going to Norway in coming week. Rama is going to finish his project by this week. That means these are fixed. These programs are fixed. Planned. Already planned. So we use present continuous tense. Next rule is for changing situation. Present progressive tense is used to express a changing situation. Let's take an example. The situation is getting worse. Price of petrol is increasing. These are changing situations. Next rule is we use present continuous tense or progressive tense for new habits. We know that for normal habits that continue for a long time we use simple present tense. But for temporary actions, temporary habits, we use present continuous tense. Let's take an example. He is eating a lot these days. Normally, he eats very less. But nowadays, these days, he is eating a lot. This is a temporary action, temporary habit. You are smoking too much. Normally, you smokes very less. But nowadays, smoking too much. Next rule is present progressive tense is used to express a temporary action which may not be actually happening at this moment. Like I am working on climate change, but I am not working at this moment. Here the sentence is present progressive tense. Next rule is there are some verbs that don't have present progressive form, but we can use present progressive tense with such verbs. How can we use? We can use them when we want to emphasize that a situation is temporary. When we want to emphasize that a situation is temporary or for a period of time around the present. We call these verbs non-progressive verbs because there is no progressive form. So we call them non-progressive verbs or static verbs. If we use them in present progressive tense, then they are called dynamic verb. Then it is called dynamic verb. How can we use? Let's take an example. Before that, let's know what are these state verbs or non-progressive verbs. They are, first one is verbs of senses like feel, hear, see, smell, touch, taste, notice, look. These are verbs of senses. Then verbs of mental states and actions like feel, think, remember, forget, agree, disagree, recollect, recall, trust, imagine, suppose. These are verbs of mental state and actions. Next is verbs of emotion. Hate, love, like, dislike, hope, regard, want. These are verbs of emotion. Next is verbs of possession, that is belong, have, own, owe, possess, appear, consist of, contain, live, remain, resemble, seem. These are verbs of possession. So these are the state verbs. These are state verbs and they don't have present progressive form. But still we can use them in present progressive tense when we want to emphasize that situation is temporary for a period of time. Temporary or for a period of time around the present. There we can use simple present tense and at that time these verbs are called dynamic verbs. Let's take an example. I see the moon. Here we can write that I am seeing the moon. It's wrong. Like I hear the noise. And it is a permanent action. We can use ing form for the temporary situations. Like the court is hearing evidence. The court is hearing evidence. We get here ing form hearing. But it's a temporary action. The court is hearing evidence is a temporary action. So we get the ing form here. Let's take an example. I consider him to be extremely fortunate. Here I consider him to be extremely fortunate. That is permanent situation. Now if I will say I am considering taking early retirement. This is my view. Like this we can use dynamic verbs or verb ing form of the state verbs of these state verbs. Next rule is there are some adverbs. With these adverbs we can use simple, continuous, or progressive tense. What are they? Always, constantly. These are adverbs and we can use present progressive tense here. Let's take an example. She is always falling ill. He is always falling ill. The boy is constantly making mistakes. Constantly, always. With these adverbs we use present progressive tense or present simple tense. So like simple present tense, progressive tense is also having some keywords. They are at the moment, just now, listen, look, now, right now. These are the keywords of present progressive tense. Next is present perfect tense. You know the structure? That is subject plus have or has plus verb third form plus object. Here first rule is present perfect tense is used to express an action that is completed in the very recent past. Let's take an example. I have just eaten. I have just eaten. That means the action is completed just some time before, just in recent past. Just in the recent past, I have eaten. He has just left. He has just left. Next rule is to express an action that is completed, but the precise time is not known. Or we can say when the precise time of an action is not important. We can use present perfect tense. Let's take an example. Someone has eaten my soup. Someone has eaten my soup. Someone has already eaten my soup, but we don't know the time here. When he had eaten. He has eaten. We don't know the time. The precise time is not given here. She has studied English, Odia and Hindi. My mother has cooked rice. Here, if you will mention time, then sentence will be in past simple tense. If I'll mention the time, if I'll say mention the time with these 10 sentences, then the sentences will be in past simple tense. If I'll say, my mother cooked rice yesterday or last night. Next rule is putting emphasis on the result is to express an action that is done in the past, but the result is available now. Action is done in the past, but now we are getting the result. In this case, we use present perfect tense. Let's take an example. They have just arrived. They have just arrived. You have just taken your lunch. Next rule is to express an action that is repeated in an unspecified period between past and now. That is, that action is repeated in between past and now. Unspecified period between the past and now. Like if we'll say, he has lost his health. He has lost his health. That means he is fat. He was fat before and now he is weak. In this case, we can say he has lost his health. I have lost my painting brush. That means I had a brush and now I am not getting it. I had lost my painting brush means once before I had a brush and now I am not getting it. Clear? Next rule is we use present perfect tense when the time period referred to is not finished. When the time period referred to has not finished. Like this month, this week, this Monday, this century, this evening. These are unfinished time. These are unfinished time. So we use present perfect tense with the unfinished time. Here we can take an example he has eaten thrice. He has eaten thrice this morning. It has rained a lot this week. This week it has rained a lot. That means it is not finished till now. It's not finished. Next rule is for an action that is started in the past. We use present perfect tense for the action that is started in the past and still continuing in the present. If we say they have worked all day, that means they have worked in the past. They worked in the past. Still working. Still working. But their work is not finished. So here the action is started in the past and still continuing in the present. All day means still continuing. Another example. She has worked in that factory for 5 years. The man has lived all his life here. That means before in the past he was living and now also he is living. Let's know some keywords for present perfect tense are already, ever, just, never, not, yet, so far, till now, up to now, already, yet, until, now, even, often, several. These are the keywords for present perfect tense. Next is present perfect continuous tense. Here, first rule is to express an unfinished action which started in the past and continue to the present. Here, in present perfect continuous tense, we often use for or since. Let's take an example. I have been living in London for 2 years. I have been living in London for 2 years. Next example, she has been sleeping for 10 hours. Next is, they have been waiting for the bus for 4 hours. Here in the above sentences, the action is unfinished. That means it was started in the past and still continuing. I have been living in London means 2 years back I started living in London and now also I am living there. Okay. Next rule is for temporary habits or situations. That the action started in the past and continuing to the present without mentioning how long clearly. In these situations, we can use present perfect continuous tense. For temporary habits or situations, like the action started in the past and continues to the present, but here without mentioning how long clearly, we use recently. Okay, in this situation we use present perfect continuous tense. Let's take an example. I have been reading a lot recently. I have been reading a lot recently. Here time is not mentioned. How long is clearly not mentioned. Instead we used recently. Actually, this is very similar to the use of present continuous for temporary habits, right? So, often both the tenses are applicable in this situation. Both the tenses are applicable. Present continuous tense and present perfect continuous tense is also applicable in this temporary habits or situations. Next is for finished action, to express an action which have recently stopped but have a result. Recently stopped but and have a result. Though the whole action can be unfinished, we have a result. Let's take an example. I am so tired. I have been working. Here I have been working. That means my work is recently stopped and I have a result. What is the result here? I am tired. I was working so I am tired. He is sneezing. He has been bathing in the river all the day. He is sneezing is the result. Why he is sneezing? Because he has been bathing in the river all the day. And that bathing work is recently stopped. And as a result, he is sneezing. The key words of present perfect continuous tense is all day, for 4 years, since 1993, how long, the whole week, etc. These are the key words for present perfect continuous tense. Let's have the simple past. You know the structure? Here is the first rule, that is to express a finished action or state or habit in the past. To express a finished action or state or habit in the past. When we have a finished time, words like yesterday, last week, a week ago, last year, at 2 o'clock, in 2003, these words express a finished action or finished state or finished habit in the past. I went to Cuttack yesterday. I went to Cuttack yesterday. Yesterday shows that the action is already finished. I got that letter yesterday. Sita left his village a year ago. These are the examples of in the case of a finished action or state or habit. Next rule is, we use simple past to express a finished action or states or habits for a period of time in the past. but the time period has finished or the person we are talking about is dead. That means we use simple past tense to express a finished action or habit or state for a period of time in the past. But the time period has finished. The time period when that action occurred or happened is finished, or the person about whom we are talking is dead. In this case, we can use simple past tense. Let's take an example. He stayed there for a long time. He stayed there for a long time. The time period is finished now. The time period he was staying, the time period he was staying there is finished now. So we can use simple past tense here. He stayed there for a long time. Shakespeare wrote Macbeth. Shakespeare wrote Macbeth. The person Shakespeare is dead. The writer Shakespeare is dead. So we use simple present tense here. Shakespeare wrote Macbeth. Next rule is simple past tense is used to express unreal or imaginary things in the present or future. Unreal or imaginary things of present time or future. We use it with the second conditional. With the second condition, and after the words like as if, as though, it's time, I wish, would, rather, if only. Let's take an example. You will get it clear that if he behaves as if he did it alone, he behaves as if he did it alone. This is imaginary, not real. He has not done it alone, but he behaves like he has done it alone. I wish I won the lottery. It's unreal, imaginary. I would rather told him the fact. I have not told anything. I have not said anything. But I am thinking that I would rather told him the fact. It is time we left home. Means it is the time for us to go home. Next rule is to express a conditional sentence which is connected to present or future. Present and future. Let's take an example. If I had money, I would help him. I would help him shows the future action. If he stole my money, I would give him a lesson. I would have give him a lesson. Next rule is what is invented or discovered in the past. We use like Marconi invented radio. Simple past tense. Colombus discovered America. Next rule is for stories or events. We often use simple past tense for the actions of the story. We use in the stories and events, we use simple past tense for the actions of the story. But for the background, we use past continuous. Okay, in stories and events, we use simple present tense for what? For the actions only. For the actions of the story. Let's take an example. He went to a cafe. Music was playing there. He went to a cafe is the action of the story, and music was playing there is the background. Okay, he sat down and ordered a coffee. Here all the action parts are in simple past tense and the background is in past continuous. Next rule is to express an action finished in the past and as a result another action takes place. To express an action that is finished in the past and as a result another action takes place. Let's take an example. When I opened the door of the case, the bird flew away or flew out. When I opened the door. That means I opened the door is one action that is finished and as a result another action happened, that is the bird flew out or flew away. For simple past tense the keywords are yesterday, 2 minutes ago, in 1990, the other day, the last Friday. These are the keywords for simple past tense. For an action, next rule is for an action or situation that began and ended at a particular time in the past. Let's take an example. While he sang, she danced. While I sang, she danced. Here the keywords for simple past tense is yesterday, 2 minutes ago, in 1990, the other day, last Friday. These are the examples. Let's have the next tense, that is past continuous tense. You know the structure, that is subject plus was or were plus verb ing form plus object. First rule is to express an action that is going on at the certain time in the past. To express an action that is going on at a certain time in the past. He was playing yesterday. Example, he was playing yesterday. His playing was going on. Past continuous tense is used when many actions going on in the past. When many actions going on in the past at the same time. Like Mita was reading and Sita was singing. Both these works or actions are going on in the past. Both these actions were going on at the same time. So, for both the sentences, we can use past continuous tense. Mita was reading and Sita was also singing. For temporary habits that happen more often than we expect in the past, we use past continuous tense. In this case, we often use always, continually, constantly, forever. Here. This is same as we use present continuous for habits. But here in past continuous, the habit started and finished, started and ended in the past. Let's take an example. She was constantly crying. You find the word constantly here. Okay. She was constantly crying. That means the action has crying. That action crying was started and finished in that past. They were always making mistakes. Next rule is to express the background of the story. We use past continuous tense. To express the background of the story, we use past continuous tense. And we know that for the action part, we use simple past tense. The words we are singing, the sun was shining, and the cafe's people were smiling. She sat down and took out her phone. In this story, the background part is in past continuous tense and the action part is in simple past tense. Next rule is to express an action in the past when it overlaps another action or time. Suppose I say, I was going to the station when I met my student. Here I started going before I met my student. And maybe I continued afterwards. I was going to station when I met my students means I started going before I met my student. And maybe I continued afterwards. That means if an action is going on in the past and another action happens, then the first action should be in the past progressive. And second action which happened later should be in simple past. She was sweeping when I reached her home. Here the first action is in present past progressive or past continuous tense, and second one which happened later, I reached there after before he was sweeping, and I reached when I reached her home means that part action is done after. Next rule is if action in the past is interrupted by another action. That is, I was sleeping when my phone rang. Here the key words of a past continuous tense is when, while, as long as, etc. Next, here we go with the past perfect tense. And the first rule is if two actions happened in the past. If two actions happened in the past, we use past perfect for the first happened action. First occurred action, and for the second event that happened later or after first event we use past simple. One event ends before the second event happens. Let's take an example, you will get it clear. I had finished the work before he told me. When we arrived, the film had started. Here, first perfect tense shows which action happened first. I had finished the work means that work had finished first before he told me, and simple past sense says that that action has occurred later. I had studied a little English before I moved to the US. That means English, I had already studied English before going to US. Next rule is just like present perfect tense. If something started in the past and continued up to another action or time in the past, we use past perfect tense. Let's take an example. When he graduated, he had been London for 6 years. In this sentence, we use the for plus time to show how long. When he graduated, he had been in London for 6 years. We have used 6 years plus 4. 6 years here is time, and 4. 4 plus time shows how long. Next rule is to talk about unreal and imaginary things in the past. We use past perfect tense. If I had known if we are ill, I would visited you. I would visited you. I wish I had not gone to bed so late. That means in conditional sentences, after if, we use past perfect tense. If you had told me, after if you had told me, I would have taught you. Another rule for past perfect tense is with the words till, until, we use past perfect tense. He refused to go anywhere until he had finished the work. Next rule is in direct speech, if reporting verb or principal verb is in present tense, Then, in indirect speech, reported speech should be in past perfect tense. He said, I have done the work. The sentence is in present tense. He said that he had done the work. He said, I have done the work. Here, principal verb, principal, so repeating verb or principal verb is in present tense. So, in indirect speech, reported speech should be in past perfect. That is, he said, I have done the work. In indirect speech, it will be, he said that he had done the work. Key words for past perfect tense is already, just, never, not yet, once, until, that day. Next is past perfect continuous tense. And first rule is to express an action that finished before another event. That finished just before another event in the past. I had been working before I saw you. I had been working before I saw you. And that's why I was really tired. Next rule is to express an action that started in the past and continued up to another action or time in the past. Here we often use past perfect tense with the stative verbs. I had been working at that company for a year when I met my friend. Okay, I had been working at that company for a year when I met my friend. The key words for past perfect continuous tense is for, since, the whole day, all day. Next is simple future. Future simple tense. First rule is to express an action in the future that cannot be influenced. Like rain will come after summer. Rain will come after summer. We all will die one day. The next year will be a leap year. These are uninfluenced sentences, uninfluenced actions, events. Next rule is to express assumption with regard to the future, or you can say to predict a future event. We use simple future. I think he will get a job. That's my prediction. He shall speak the truth. It will rain tomorrow. It is also an assumption or prediction. Next rule is to express a spontaneous decision. It's raining. I will take an umbrella. To take an umbrella with me is my spontaneous decision. Okay. I will pay the tickets by cash. Next rule is to express willingness. I will go to your home to help you. This is my willingness. I want to help you. Okay. He will carry your bag for you. Will you give me a hand? Next is we use simple future with will in the first conditional. Let's take an example. If it doesn't rain, we will go to park. If it doesn't rain, we will go to park. We will go to park is the first conditional. Next, words with if, unless, when, while, is, before, after, until, by the time, as soon as, etc. If we use these clauses for future tense, then present simple tense should be used after these clauses. Let's take an example. They cannot leave this place if it becomes dark. They cannot leave this place if we have made our future plans, if we have made our future plans before the moment of speaking, we use be going to. Next rule is if we have made our future plans before the moment of speaking, we use be going to. And even we use be going to when we make a prediction about the future. The sky is getting darker. It's going to rain. It will rain. Here we'll say it's going to rain. My car often breaks down. I'm going to sell it. Here, shall is used mainly to get someone's opinion, especially for offers and suggestions. Like, shall I open the window? That means, do you want me to open the window? The key words for simple future tense is in a year, next, tomorrow, I think, probably, perhaps. Next is future continuous. Future continuous tense is used to express an action that is going on at a certain time in the future. Example, I will be studying English when you are at home. I will be studying English when you arrive tonight. Next rule is we use future continuous tense for the action that is sure to happen in the near future. Like he will be playing cricket tomorrow afternoon. You will be playing cricket tomorrow afternoon. That means I'm sure that he will be playing cricket tomorrow afternoon. Next is future perfect tense, and the rule is we use the future perfect tense with a future time word to talk about an action that will finish before a certain time in the future. That means there will be a certain time period, mention of certain time, future time. By 10 o'clock, I will have finished my cooking. That means I will finish my cooking before 10 o'clock. But we don't know exactly when. According to the rule, we use the future perfect tense with a future time word to talk about an action that will finish before a certain time. That means I will finish my cooking before 10, before a certain time. That is 10 o'clock. Before 10 o'clock, I will finish my cooking. But here we don't know the exact time. Here keywords are by Monday in a week. By Monday in a week. Next is future perfect continuous. This is the last one. And the rule is for action taking place before a certain time in the future. For the action taking place before a certain time in the future. I will have been studying English over 2 hours by the time you arrive here. Here we use future perfect continuous tense to say how long for an action that continues up to another point in the future. Here we use for plus length of time. How long? By the time I shall have been cooking for hours. Next rule is putting emphasis on the course of the action. We can say by the next July we shall have been living here. And the key words for future perfect continuous tense is for, all day, long, etc. Guys, this is all about the uses of all the 12 tenses. Now I will put some questions here and you have to answer it in the comment section. That's all. Thank you. Please do subscribe my channel to get notification of my upcoming video. Do share, press like button and give your valuable comments. Thank you. Bye bye. Take care.